Coming up on Hoge Jahns, our guy Patrick Mannelly joins the show. Yes, some special teams conversation. No, we're going to get into a lot of the offense and Caleb Williams and the offensive line and all of that too. It is Raiders week. Let's go. Hoge Jahns starts right now. What's up? Welcome in, Hoge Jahns, back with you. A Wednesday edition of the show as we turn our attention to the Los Angeles / Oakland / Las Vegas Raiders.
Vegas, baby! Are you excited about the trip out west?
I am. I'm getting more and more excited as the week. You know, I gotta say, the win on Sunday I think helps. I think it just like kind of helps the vibes, you know, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. For a road trip where, well, fans are coming along for the experience. 100% I should feel that way.
We had two of these trips last year. One was London, one was Arizona, and I could just tell you there were different vibes on both of those trips because one was coming off a win, everybody was happy in London, and obviously it went well. But I'm talking about even before the game, and then the other one was Arizona coming off the Hail Mary, and everybody was just sort of like, "Okay, we're here. I don't know how this is gonna go." So I do think the win on Sunday helps, and the good vibes with Caleb Williams as well. Welcome in. Follow us on Twitter. That's right. The Twitter account is back at Hoge Jahns. We cracked the code. We finally got a hold of Elon Musk, and we're back. It took a while to find his phone number. You know, we had to call in some special favors, but it's I have no idea.
It's just back.
It's a
it's
weird
functioning. It's going to be sharing this podcast later. It feels good. The stars have aligned. See what happens after a Bears win? Good things come together.
I guess that's what they need. They just are like, we're not bringing this count back till the Bears win a football game. Is what they were doing. I guess that was it. I have no idea.
3 hot dogs in Chicago and the Hoge Jahns Twitter account for everybody else on social media.
Yeah, it was I have no idea, but we're back there. Make sure you're following us. You can follow our personal accounts too at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, and that QR code right there on your screen. If you're watching on YouTube, will take you to become a diehard if you're not already, and that's where you get our great written content. Johnsy's writing all the time, but every week I join him on an insider analysis column, which comes out Wednesday morning. So that's there for you as well. Really good nugget in there from Antoine Randall L.
Oh,
yeah, as a little tease. I like that nugget you had in there.
I am responsible for that one. So if you want to know how Antoine Randall L ranked the wide receivers coming out of the draft last year, which includes a current Bear, check it out.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. We broke down some film, went back and forth on what's sustainable with the offense. I'm sure we'll touch on that a little bit here on the show today too, but that's all there for you if you want to become a diehard. If you're listening to the pod, you can also go to allchgo.com/diehard and sign up there.
We got some new swag and merch coming. We should mention.
We do. We've been working on it, and so that's coming. In the meantime, that you can still buy the hat and the initial shirt that came out when we moved over to CHGO. That's all at store.allcitynetwork.com. Johns, are you? I thought we'd start the week with a little bit of a fun, maybe a Fishbane fun fact.
Delivered by Adam Hoge. Okay, what do you got?
I don't know if it's actually fun. It's definitely not fun for the people who got fired. But are you aware the last 2 times that the Bears played the Raiders, their coach got fired?
Well, that would be in London a couple of years ago, right?
They played. There's actually 2 other more recent games.
Oh, you're talking about in the NFL that don't have to do with the Bears.
No, I'm saying the last 2 times the Bears played the Raiders fired their coach. Go back to Vegas, 2021.
Okay.
John Gruden got fired when I was at the airport.
Yeah.
On my way home.
Okay. You think Pete Carroll's going to get fired after this one?
I do not think Pete Carroll's getting fired. The second one, which I feel like people even forgot this game happened, but it was only 2 years ago. The Raiders came to Soldier Field, and now this time an extra week went by. but Josh McDaniels was struggling. They were actually coming off back-to-back wins, though. And it came to Chicago, and I kind of heard through the grapevine a little bit. Players weren't happy, and the vibes weren't good. And sure enough, they laid an egg.
Who was their quarterback?
In that game?
Was it Jimmy Garoppolo?
It might have been. I'd have to look that up. We'll look that up. I know the quarterback.
Game.
Well, do you know who the quarterback was for the Bears that day?
Quarterback 2 years ago?
And it was not Justin Fields.
Was it Tyson Bagent?
Tyson Bagent started that game. Let's see who played for the oh yeah. We had an Aiden O'Connell, Brian Hoyer experience that day.
Wow. Was Jimmy Garoppolo ever on the Raiders?
Yeah, he was. He was.
I'm not just making this up as we talk through this.
So maybe that explains why this game was forgotten, because the 4 quarterbacks that appear in the box score officially are Brian Hoyer, Aiden O'Connell, Tyson Bagent, and Nathan Peterman.
Wow.
I think Peterman just came in at the end of the game, probably to kneel it out or something. But
Aiden O'Connell from the Chicago area, Brian Hoyer, former Bears quarterback.
Yeah. The Bears won 30-12. The Raiders fell to 3-4. Josh McDaniels not get fired right away like John Gruden. They went to Detroit the following week. They lost there, and then they fired him. They made Antonio Pierce the interim head coach, and Champ Kelly was the interim GM.
Former director of player personnel for the Bears.
Yeah.
So many connections.
Yeah. So, I don't think Pete Carroll's getting fired after this one. But, I don't even – Gruden would have been the coach in that London game, right? 2019? When did he get hired there? He must have been there for at least 3 seasons.
Was he the coach of that London game? So that's immediately where my mind went to, that game, the one that the Bears blew. I don't think that was.
Yeah, he would have been. He was the Raiders head coach then.
Okay.
So, that was not a good one for the Bears. But the last 2 have gone much better. This is all a sort of a byproduct of the extra game in the schedule. This is why the Bears and Raiders have kind of played each other more recently. That's why it was in 2021 with that 17th game. It becomes the conference crossover based on where you finish in the standings. So Raiders, Bears finishing in last quite often end up.
Well, there used to be that run of facing the Buccaneers every single year.
Yeah, there's that too. Then of course the Bears and Bucks back in the day, NFC Central days.
Well, those are different Buccaneers teams. They're good again now. They've actually been pretty darn good past 5-10 years, I think. But those Buccaneers team. You're talking about John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, those Buccaneers teams?
Well, and they had the road creamsicle jerseys on the other day with Baker Mayfield mic'd up. It was a great video going around yesterday of Baker. Baker's just entertaining. By the way, does our next guest go back to the NFC Central?
I think he might.
We're going to have to ask him that.
The lead
It's a good tease off the top of my head. Patrick Mannelly is going to be joining us here on Hoge Jahns. We bring him in right now. All right, Pat, we kind of stumbled into this right before you jumped on with us, but we were actually reminiscing randomly about the NFC Central, and I was like, wait a minute, does our next guest go back to the NFC Central? And I think you do.
I do. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in there.
Yeah. Any memories from those days before they realigned?
Actually, I have a pretty good one. It's a Warren Sapp story. So we're lined up for a field goal, and Warren Sapp would always have a little dip in his mouth. And he got our cadence down. It might have been the second or third time we're kicking a field goal. This was a field goal. It might have been the second or third time we're kicking a field goal, and he got our cadence down. Our cadence back then would have been like hot right, set, and then I would snap the ball. So we heard like hot right, hot. And when he heard the second hot, I hear this. He's just pulling up this big old freaking loogie. And right before set, there is spit all over my hand. And fortunately, it snaps good, kick goes in. But I think it was my first or second year. And I remember running off the field, looking at my hand and be like, holy crap, man, that's Warren Sapp's spit. How cool is that? And there were little flecks of chew all over my a dip all over my hand. So, yeah, that goes back to the NFC Central. But I think back then we had beat them with the weather was below 40 degrees like 100 times in a row or something. So, yeah.
Yeah, they had that fun fact, that stat that they showed it like every time before a game, like at Lambeau or at Soldier Field, right? That was just before, you played them when they were just getting good too, right? John Lynch, Derek Brooks,
yes, oh yeah,
Gruden's down
and
there.
I think they broke that streak when we had Henry Burris starting.
That could work.
Man, yeah,
that makes sense.
I imagine of all the people you had to line up against on field goal, Warren Sapp was among the scariest.
That one, and then Reggie White.
Yeah.
Yeah, Reggie White was just, I couldn't believe how big that man was. Like, he wore, before we went to the small pads, he was wearing small pads. He looked like he was wearing like knee pads as shoulder pads, and he was still bigger and wider than everybody else. And I couldn't believe like how big that man was. I think the first punt against Green Bay, he was lined up in the A gap, and I remember just looking over and be like, oh my God, that is one giant man. Yeah, so that was another big one. And then Gilbert Brown from Green Bay was really tough. The gravedigger, he was tough.
Kind of going off there. What do you make of all the blocked field goals this past week?
I don't get it. I don't understand. Effort. Actually, I guess one thing I do notice: effort is up. Everybody has effort on every field goal. You watch sometimes, and actually, the Bears' effort isn't the best. It's not consistent. To me, that's coaching. That's putting that in the room and making sure the guys are going after every field goal, no matter what. Because you never know. Adam, as you know, somebody could have a breakdown in protection, a bad kick step or a spike step or whatever, and you never know when that's going to happen. So you have to have effort every play. But I just see it as effort. I think the guys are just coming at the kicks harder. And guys are kicking 50-yarders like they're nothing. So they know the ball's going to come out a little lower. So if you know the trajectory of the ball is coming out lower, you have a better chance to block it.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, look, especially with the rules these days and how much they're, protecting guys, there's only so many different blocks you can actually draw up schematically. Yeah. And so you're right. I mean, effort is just such a big part of it because it's so easy to just fall asleep on field goals because you're just like, these are automatic. How often do we ever actually block these? But guess what? The team blocking can fall asleep too and take it for granted too. So if you have a higher effort, all of a sudden something's off by this much and you actually block it.
Yeah, no doubt. You see the blocks come mostly in the A gap between the snapper and the we saw it last year and the guards, and then the C gap between the tight end and the wing back. Those are the biggest places. But yeah, the effort's the key, man. It just, like I said, it comes from the meeting rooms. I mean, obviously, I had one of the greatest coaches, if not the greatest coach, in Dave Tobe, and he set the standard for all those guys. And that's why we blocked so many kicks, whether it was punts or field goals. That it had to be done, and it was graded poorly, and you were looked bad upon in meetings if you weren't given effort and you were called out, and that's the way it should be.
All right, I know Adam has a lot. He's got a long list of special teams questions.
We can go a whole hour.
We can put it to the back end of the interview. That's okay.
Thank you. But you mentioned Henry Burris, and I just like Pat. You've played with so many different quarterbacks, and so now like you're watching quarterbacks play. Like, I guess, what have you come to look for? What do you become concerned about? And what did you think of, Caleb's first 3 weeks, if you kind of keep that context in mind?
Yeah, the biggest thing is I want, you want the Tom Brady, the Drew Brees, the guys before snap kind of know what's going to happen before it happens. So when the ball snapped 1, 2, 3, it's either going to go here or there. So the pre-snap read is big. And then what we saw this past week from Caleb was huge, I thought, and Ben Johnson talked about it post-game, was that getting the play in early, having command of the huddle, having command of the line of scrimmage, making the mic point, understanding what the defense can give you, whether, when you put guys in motion, whether it's man or zone. And I think you're starting to see that. A lot of the quarterbacks we rolled in a lot of the young guys never got to the point where they understood all that. And I think Caleb, everybody's talked about this is the best game Caleb's played so far this year, and I think it's because of that. An example I can give is, in the middle of the game, DeAndre Swift had a zone run off the left side, and Caleb is talking to Charles Leno about the mic point. Charles is looking in, he's not talking to Dahlman, he's talking to Caleb. And I'm like, all right, this man's got it now. He's the one who's in charge of the mic point. He's the one calling, he's moving the mic to whatever and who they're going to block and all that kind of stuff. So that was one of the most, when I saw that as a former O-lineman, I'm like, all right, this quarterback has it. And that's what I want to see from him. I want to see command in the huddle, at the line of scrimmage, and then obviously making the right reads after the ball snapped.
So
by Charles Leno, you mean Braxton Jones?
I'm sorry, Braxton Jones. Why did I say Charles Leno? I have no idea.
He was a teammate. He was a former teammate.
No, yeah, I don't know why. Yeah, Braxton Jones, my fault. They're all left tackles. They're all late-round left tackles. My bad.
Yeah, I was going to say they're kind of similar if you think about it.
They do, but I don't even know why I said Charles Leno. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
One was number 72 and one's number 70. See, I know my guys.
Yeah, you got it. I think one thing we're trying to all figure out is how much of this will be sustainable, and of course the asterisk on the whole game is the Cowboys defense looks horrible.
Yes, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
whatever. But the stuff you're talking about right there is to me what it should be sustainable, because I agree with you. The pre-snap stuff doesn't. Except for it maybe being a little bit simpler against the Matt Eberflus defense, versus Brian Flores defense. But beyond just that, though, that seemed like such a huge step forward for Caleb, because quite frankly, in training camp, which we were out there every single day, it was a struggle. It was a grind. There wasn't a whole lot of progress showing. And then all of a sudden, week one, it was still a big issue. So for it to be that big of a step forward just a few weeks into the season, I'm not saying everything's going to be linear. Obviously, there's going to be dips and valleys, but it is, to me, it's a good sign that, hey, he can get this.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's a big step too. You talk about cadence, right? Week one, he had trouble with cadence. All right, week three, he's better at the cadence. And people think it's kind of simple to get the cadence, but listen, he did the clap thing all in college, and cadence. Now cadence is way more complicated. When I was in the NFL, Olin and I talked about it on the pre and post game show that, you hear color number set hut with turbo. Ball can be snapped on color. Ball can be snapped on second number. There can be dummy colors, all that kind of stuff. So it can be confusing, and it takes time to learn. So to see him learn from what you're talking about, the offseason to week three, that's great. And then just being able to call a 17-play word in the huddle, a 14 to 17-play word, that's difficult. Let me give you 17 words and you go recite it to your neighbor. You know what I mean? It takes you a while to learn all that stuff. And once you get it down, then it's going to be a lot easier. And we're seeing that. And then the other thing is getting out of the huddle on time. He has time to sit there and dissect the defense, communicate with, not Charles Leno, Braxton Jones, about the mic call. So that is progress. And I think that's stuff that once it's learned, it is learned. You know what I mean? He can move on to now really understanding the defenses, studying Pete Carroll and his defense this week coming up against the Raiders. So I like the process I've seen, and I think that's the first thing I wanted to see, and now we've seen it, and let's go forward.
Yeah, I've come to really appreciate the steps within the process. I like that Ben Johnson doesn't use an armband. He sees purpose in his quarterback knowing the play call, memorizing it, and it helps him visualize it. It helps him know the play better. I like that he's been on his case incessantly throughout. Since this has started. I'm curious, what you make of that. Have you ever been at practice and wondered why, I don't know, Jeremy Bates isn't yelling at Jay Cutler or Ron Turner isn't more angry in this situation? I've just come to appreciate the way that Ben Johnson is kind of handling everything offensively and the fire behind it.
Yeah, I think it's all personal too. It depends on the player, how they react. Just for example, for me, Dave Tobe, if I ever had a snap that was off or anything, he would never yell at me because he knew I was so hard on myself that if he yelled at me, it'd just make it worse. Some players are different. Some people need tough love. I've got no problem with it. If he's read that Caleb needs this, and I think he has, and I think he's and it's working. Caleb, in my opinion, I don't know, has probably never been coached like this before, and coached this well with a level of knowledge that Ben Johnson has, and you're seeing growth. So I'm all for it. I've seen players be yelled at and they fold. Players get yelled at and they flourish. So I think it's up to the coach to figure out who they are and how they work. And I think Ben Johnson has found the right buttons to push for Caleb Williams so far, and it's showing.
What do you make of the offensive line through 3 games?
They're growing. Jonah Jackson's still struggling a little bit. It's weird. It's not weird, but you see it. The move from left guard to right guard he's struggling with that. But they're coming together. Darnell Wright still needs to be more consistent. The penalties they're troubling, but he's still a darn good player, man. On his double teams with Jonah Jackson, it's pretty impressive on some of the run games. Braxton Jones talked about it. The coaches have talked about it late in the game. I just don't know if he's healthy with strength and stuff like that, but I do think they're getting better. And then the encouragement, I know it was Dallas' defense, but 0 sacks. Caleb was able to sit in the pocket. Another one of my favorite plays was that Caleb threw it to Zacchaeus on a 3rd and like 9 or 10 or something, and he was checking the front side and had enough time to come to the backside and hit Zacchaeus for a first down. That's growth with Caleb of not getting out of the pocket, but it's also says a lot for that offensive line to let him get to his 3rd or 4th read or whatever it was on that play. But they're getting better. And then the stats show that the contact stats for DeAndre Swift, where he's not getting contacted for X amount of yards down the field, that says a lot, that there's holes there. DeAndre Swift needs to be a little bit better. I thought he was last week, but I think they're coming together. I do think this too, guys, not having Joe Thuney in preseason games together, when you get all 5 guys working together, the communication, the steps, the nonverbal communication needs to be there. And I think through these first 3 weeks, you're seeing the growth.
How good is Thuney? Like, how would you?
His technique is ridiculous. Yeah. I think there's some things where as you get older, your strength goes away a little bit, sitting down on a bull rush. But his technique is it's phenomenal. Just everything. His first step is, just from his stance, just watching his stance to his first step, to his hand placement, to understanding leverage, to getting up to the second level, to fitting in with double teams. I mean, you can keep going on and on and on. There's a reason why he's so good, but his technique is just phenomenal. He's a teaching tape to watch. He's something a young player should watch.
So how realistic is it that the run game starts to come together better throughout the course of a season? Because I feel like, when I start to look at what's sustainable in this offense, you see the weapons, you see this offensive line, Caleb in a pocket, the tight ends. Like there's a lot of optimism that this passing game can be pretty good throughout the season. But the question is, does the running game come along? Because Ben Johnson needs that. That's a big staple of his offense.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one is going to be Kyle Monangai. I think as the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. That one run where he ran around for -7 yards, it was impressive, but wrong, right? It's something you can do in college, but I think he'll learn. But I think he's one that's going to get better. So where you'll have that DeAndre Swift style back, and then you'll have Kyle as his style as well. I think that's the biggest thing. I think he's going to improve. I mean, shoot, it's only week 3 or his 3rd game ever in the NFL. He's got a lot to learn. And then again, the O-line is going to progress, but I think a lot has to do with him. It's interesting that they're not running Roschon Johnson at all, that DJ Moore is getting his reps. So to me, that's a coaching decision. They don't like his style. They don't like what he's bringing, that they believe in Kyle. And I just think as Kyle gets more reps, the better he's going to be, the better the run game will be.
How much do players enjoy like installing the gadget plays, the trick plays?
Yeah. That's when you know you've made it. That's when you're done. Like you're done with details, right? You're done with putting in 25, 24 bob, just the simple little plays. You're done with that. Your coaches trust you. That to me was when, week 5, 6, 7, whatever it is coming along, that, all right, we've installed everything. We've got it down. Details are done. Let's have fun. Here's an extra 15 minutes. Let's put these 2 plays in for these next 3 weeks. Hopefully we get them called. And then it's just fun. You come up with, play names, what Santa Slay under Matt Nagy, and sometimes coaches allow the players to come up with play names. I know in special teams, we got to name our fakes, which were fun. And that's just when the team's coming together and you've got it. So that's the deal. And then it's that 10-minute period in practice where you see if you can execute it. And that's icing on the cake, saying, all right, our offense, we figured this out. We know what we're doing, with our basics.
What was the name for the fake? What was it? The fake punt return? Like, how can I describe it? Where the
one where
like he fakes fielding it and someone else is catching it.
The one they ran last year. They ran it at Lambeau last year.
And they never give Tobe the credit.
I know.
They never give Tobe the credit. That makes me mad. I'm always retweeting like, this is the original. This is the original. We can only run it because of Devin Hester. But Mike Sweatman was the one. We came up with like Foshizi as a play. Ninja was the Urlacher the Urlacher touchdown against the Commanders back in the day. But we just came up with just dumb names, which was fun. But Foshizi was hysterical because we wanted to hear Mike Sweatman say, Foshizi, Foshizi.
Well, that's okay. That's a good transition to actually a punt question I wanted to ask you, because we would call our rollout punts Luda for rollout.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So,
sure.
When you know the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like sitting back in the chair and he's like pointing at the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was me when all
Yep.
of a sudden the Bears came out in that punt formation.
Did the same thing. Only
where,
you and I. There weren't many people that did that, I guarantee you.
No, but
I
I'm
was like,
sitting
wait,
there.
they're unbalanced. They're unbalanced. What are they doing? What are they doing?
Right. And I'm sitting next to Lance Briggs and I got Corey Wooten to my left, Lance to my right. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, look, they're lined up differently. And then sure enough, you get kind of the rollout, kind of the rugby style punt on that. What did you think about that? And them, because we saw in camp them experimenting with some different style of punts for Tory Taylor. Mm-hmm. And up until that one, and they didn't do it again the rest of the game. We really hadn't seen anything different.
Yeah, I think it's a way to steal like a free coverage. So if you saw when they lined up in that unbalance, what did Dallas do? They stood up and they went to punt safe. So they kind of they're trying to confuse them on who are they holding up and all that kind of stuff. And I think he still got a 9-yard return, which was not good enough. But to me, that was a way of trying to steal a free coverage, of putting them out of their certain game plan of, all right, we're holding up. And the reason why is Kavontae Turpin, right? You're trying to steal a free coverage on that guy who's the best returner in the league. That's what I got out of that. But also what happens when you go to an unconventional punt formation, you're allowed to line up head up over the long snapper. And that's what they did. So smart job by Nick Sorensen, their special teams coach. They almost gave up a block because Scott Daly had a one-on-one with, I think, a D end, and the guy came pretty close. So when we had Jody Camillus, we would go to that unbalanced punt. And that's when I was like, wait, I don't like this, because now they can line up a guy head up over me.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of really having help with the guards, I had one-on-one, and it made it more difficult. It went back to the old ways. But I found it as a way to steal coverage in that one regard. And then now that's a scouted look that takes an extra rep during special teams period, which is 7 to 10 minutes. You have to walk through that or kind of glide or practice through that during special teams. So that takes away a little bit of time for the preparation against the Bears special team. So I always liked doing that because it took away, 2 or 3 minutes during practice. And that hurts a team because you only have that limited, block for special teams practice.
Okay, so beyond that look, why does it always look like or feel like, especially from the press box, that Tory Taylor's punts are about to get blocked?
One was personnel. It was Hicks was the left guard or left wing at the first game. I think that was injuries, and they ended up moving Robinson to left wing, and I think they have Roschon at right wing now. And Hicks was only 5'11", 200 pounds. So when he was going against the DN, to me, what they've done now is they fixed the personnel a little bit. And then sometimes you preach it, it's a fine line. You want to get out, right? You want to punch and get out, but you also have to punch and hold. You have to read the guy sometimes it looks like a hold up look, and that's when you're trying to punch and just get out. A lot of teams now, what they're doing is they're going to make it look like a hold up and they're still going to come. So you see that a little bit, but the beginning of the season, I thought they've gotten better. Hoge, tell me I think they look better now. It was that one punt where Scott Daly gave up pressure, but other than that, they look better now. They've changed their personnel a little bit to be a little bit more solid.
Yeah, it's just still not consistent enough. I mean, because Roschon had the one. Roschon's somebody you feel like you can trust, and he had the one where he got beat inside, which you can't do.
Yep.
And he had to basically tackle the guy to prevent the block, and he got called for holding, which is better than having it blocked. But it did get better, I think, throughout the game. But that you can dive deeper into this. It's always a give and take, right? Because you put a bigger guy in like Dom Rob to block. Well, now you're kind of sacrificing coverage a little bit because that guy's not going as fast to get downfield to cover. So I think people don't realize that within the transition that's happening with possession within a punt, like that's why it's tough as a coordinator. Do you want to go heavier to protect, but then sacrifice coverage on the other end?
Well, and then that wing too is normally your safety, right? So that needs to be your fast guy that's coming down maybe in the third wave. So he's the kind of guy that can roll back and forth behind. And then if you have a slower, bigger guy, then you're losing, you're giving up a potential touchdown. And then the other thing, is the problem with Tory Taylor's having an issue this year. His hang time is terrible. He had a 50-yard punt. I think it was a 3.9 hang time. You can't have that. And the first game they averaged, 17 yards of return against the Bears. And I got in a little, it wasn't a Twitter argument. Somebody argued with me that I said, just hit the 45-yard high hang time fair catch, and it's 45 yards netted. And he's like, well, if you kick it 60 and you get a 17-yard return, it's only a 2-yard difference. But my argument is this: a 17-yard return, those turn into touchdowns. 45-yard fair catches don't turn into touchdowns. So he needs to get more hang time. He's just not as consistent as he was the first part of last year. But I will give him credit to kick at the 5-yard line at the end of the game. That's why you got drafted in the 4th round. That's how you finish games. Yeah.
I'm staring at a tweet right now. Someone sent us this morning. It says he's, according to Pro Football Focus, his hang time is 32nd out of 32 qualified punters in the league right now. So it's got to be better. I will point out this, not to make excuses, but maybe for optimism going forward. Remember, Travis Homer's out right now. Amen Agbangbamiga's out right now. Jalen Jones did not play on Sunday. These are all guys that Richard Hightower, trusts in terms of core special teamers. And so they are a little bit, they're thinned out the same way the defense is thinned out right now with some of the key guys that they rely on special teams.
Yeah, Travis Homer. I talked to Larry Izzo. He was the special teams coach with the Seahawks where he came from there, and I asked him what he thought about him. He said, he's my dog. So you always need a dog on special teams. You need that guy. I'm kind of shocked that he wasn't voted captain. Just the way he plays, he's on all 4 phases. He's the personal protector. He's the leader of that punt team. But that's a guy that makes a difference. That's a game plan guy that when you're an opposing team, you've got to find out where that guy is, whether he's covering kicks or blocking on kick return, punt return, holdups. He's very, very good, and that will make a difference when he gets back.
How do you think Cairo Santos really feels? I know what he said, but how do you think he really feels about?
Oh, come on, man! You don't need to answer this.
But Jake Moody,
you gotta hate that.
Yeah, okay.
I hate it even like in training camp if they brought a younger guy in to give me rest. I hated it. I didn't want anybody doing my job. I never wanted to see anybody do my job because I didn't want the general manager to see anybody see my job. I didn't want the scouts to see anybody do my job. You got to hate that. But it's also there has to be a reason behind it. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Have you guys figured it out why he's there? I don't know. But
well,
he hates it.
Yeah, I do think they are getting somewhat frustrated with the lack of distance on his kicks. Just the power in the leg, especially. I mean, and we see this. We watch Thursday night football, Monday night football, Sunday night football, and every single game right now seems to have a kicker. Like the Lions the other night lined up for 60. That would have been the NFL record.
64-yarder.
And it just, I think he had the distance. It just went left.
Yeah, I watched the Red Zone, the 12 o'clock slate last week. And, they always show all the scoring plays. And it was 52-yard attempt, 51-yard attempt, 57-yard attempt, 49-yard attempt. Yeah, it's crazy how much, coaches are kicking them and guys can make it. And I also think the K-ball has made a difference now that they can actually work that ball in. I think Pat McAfee tweeted that that's a 10 to 15-yard difference. I don't know if it's that far, but I do believe it's like a 5 to 10-yard difference because I played back when we used to be able to cook the balls and massage them into whatever the kicker and punter liked, and they did fly farther, and they were easier to handle and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's making a difference as well.
Yeah, you see the trajectory, like when these guys are warming up, and like Santos is just so much lower, and these line drive hits, and these other guys, they're hitting their 50-yarders, and it's clearing like almost at the top of the uprights. And I wonder if you go ahead.
They're all doing that now, and I go back to like when Robbie Gould came in for his workout, for that Tuesday workout. We had Martin Gramatica, Steve Christie, a bunch of older guys in there. And Robbie wasn't the most accurate kicker during that workout, but had that trajectory. What you're talking, as soon as he hit it, it just took off straight up and went far. And to me, that's when it started to change, that everybody's doing that now. There's very few line drive guys. Cairo might be one of 2 or 3 in the NFL that really kicks it the way he does. Everybody now has that lift. You look at Brandon Aubrey, who's the best kicker in the NFL, that ball goes straight up and straight out. And I just remember when Robbie came in and did that, Brad Maynard and I looked at each other and like, all right, that's different. That's is this new? Is this what it looks like? Because if you remember Gramatica, he kind of kicks it like Cairo did. Just kind of slapped at it and kicked the punch ball. Steve Christie did the same thing. But I think everybody's doing that. And maybe that is. They're looking for so it's not going to get blocked. I'm sure last year they blamed Pryor for the blocks, but they also got to blame Cairo for that. They were low.
Brandon Aubrey just looks like he's hitting out of a bunker every time. Like it's just like this like smooth little soft. He doesn't even look like he's trying, and then the ball just flies. It's crazy.
It is, and I equate it to like Robbie looks so smooth, right? I'll talk about Robbie's, but it was so smooth. But Brandon has a stronger leg, but it's the same. It looks like he's kicking a 40-yard kick, and that thing's going 57 yards, no problem. It's almost like he's cheating. Like it's like a computer made an AI kicker. Like, all right, I'm just going to hit the B button, and then whoop, there's a 57-yarder, no problem.
I will say this too, and this goes beyond just special teams with the practice squads. Even when you were playing, even when we started covering the team, you could only have 10 guys on your practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like Jake Moody, who's been in the league for 3 years, wouldn't even be eligible to be on a practice squad. Now with the rules, there's 16 guys. You can be a veteran. We got veterans hanging on to the end of their careers at linebacker and tight end and all these different positions that are on practice squads right now. And then they can be called up on game day too, which is different. So I feel like that's part of the reason why Jake Mooney's here too. Like I don't think they're lying when they're like, yeah, we still believe in Cairo. He's going to be our kicker. But it's like, hey, why don't we bring in a guy who's got a bigger leg who maybe we can fix him behind the scenes and then have a real competition in the offseason?
Yeah, because you have the numbers, right? I think you said it was 8 or 10 or whatever. So I always thought about I had to do practice squad O-line. Like I would be the practice player, O-lineman, because we only had a certain number of players. And when they expanded the roster, I was not there. But that does make sense that you can fill one of those spots with a kicker. I know if we did that back in the past, the O-line and D-line would have been pissed because some starter would have been taking practice squad or practice reps that didn't need to take it. So yeah, I get it now. It's a position that's important, right? Points are important. Kickers. I think if you had a punter there, you'd be a little more skeptical as a player on the team. Like, why are you taking the roster spot as a punter? But to me, it's kicker, punter, long snapper in that order. But with the numbers now on practice squad, sure, that makes complete sense that you can do that.
All right, Pat, my last question for you. It's not a special teams question. Adam, sorry if you have any more. You got any more?
We can move on. We can move on.
All right. So the Bears are off to Vegas this weekend. I mean, it's got to be a fun time for anyone traveling involved. I know it's a business trip and whatnot. Were there any towns, cities where you're like, okay, I'm really looking forward to doing this, that, and the other? Like, what were your
Seattle preseason? We played there a couple times in the preseason, and Brad Maynard and I would go eat oysters out on the bay. So we would go do that, and we'd have a nice bottle of white wine. Typical punter, long snapper. That's what we do. But those were night games, so we could do that, before the night game. But Seattle was cool. I just enjoyed walking around the market there and doing all that kind of stuff. But other than that, it was a business trip. If it was a noon game or a 3:00 game or anything like that, whatever city it was, I remember New Orleans. I hadn't been to New Orleans and I wanted to go walk around there, but I said, no, I'm not going to do it just because I'll go back at another time, right? So I think enough of those guys have probably been to Vegas or they'll do it in the off season that there's no need for them to go. But I do love the fact that I've talked to a lot of Bears fans that once the schedule came out in April or whenever it came out that this was on their list, right? They're going to Vegas for this game. So I expect a lot of Bears fans there and a lot of let's go Bears chants. So it should be interesting to see what the turnout is for the Bears there.
Yeah, it's going to be big. It's one of the fun thing about Bears fans. Like, look, they travel every game, but there's always that one trip every year when when the schedule comes out, you're like, that's going to be the game this year.
When they take the stadium over.
Where the stadium gets totally invaded.
My favorite one of that was the opening. We played Dallas the year their stadium opened. And all the Bears fans saw that, all right, Jerry World is open. We bought all the tickets, and we beat the crap out of it. I think it was like the middle of the third quarter, fourth quarter. All you heard for the rest of the game was, let's go Bears. And I just kept looking up at Jerry Jones's box, and I was like, ha, 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 ha. Just laughing at how well we traveled. We played well, and then the fans traveled. And that's what's great about the Chicago fans, man. They're passionate. When you lose, they're on you hard, but when you win, they love you twice as much. And I always say that about them. And hopefully we can start winning and we can hear some "Let's Go Bears" chants out there at Las Vegas.
I was going to say, so players really aren't lying when they feel some of that energy.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Especially at other places. Yeah, no doubt. And then that Arizona game everybody talks about. They are who we thought they were. After that game, it felt like a home game, the cheers from the crowd. Obviously, it was quiet most of the game, but once he missed the kick and all that stuff, you're looking around, you're like, wait, there are that many Bears fans here, but I understand why they were quiet for most of the game.
Yeah, and that was a Monday nighter too.
Yeah,
a little bit harder to travel. That's probably just all the Chicagoans that live in Arizona.
I had
showing
some dumb golf buddies from a place I was a member at. I bought them a bunch of tickets. They had them nosebleed seats. They left the game.
Oh,
The dummies left the game and they watched it at some bar, and so their own fault. But I think a lot of Bears fans probably did leave the game though.
yeah. Pat, we love you, man. Appreciate you coming on. Always appreciate the
bet.
insight. You can hear him on the score, pregame, postgame, throughout the week, making appearances. Insight's awesome. Thanks so much.
You bet. Enjoy the show, man. I really enjoy it.
Thanks,
See you guys.
Thanks,
All
man.
Bye.
Patrick Mannelly joining us, one of the great Bears of all time. Nicest guys. Appreciate him jumping on with us. That was a fun conversation. Can I explain the well, here, we got to take a break. When we come back, the K-ball thing, I think, is actually something people don't know about. It came up last year, and there was actually significant rule change. So I just want to kind of whiteboard that a little bit more for people that didn't understand what he was talking about. Then we'll talk a little bit about the Raiders before we get out of here. Of course, our big preview episode will be on Friday. We'll be right back, but first.
All right, Hoge, let's be real for a second. The world's gone soft, but not the Bears defense. We got it wrong. They look good against the Cowboys.
Well, they drank their RC Cola. That's what they did.
I bet you they did. 4 takeaways. That'll help. Soda used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. RC Cola is not a soft drink. Just damn good cola. Let me say that again. Just damn good cola. It's the original cola. Doesn't fold under pressure. It's the OG cola in the world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC hasn't changed its stripes since 1905 because it didn't need to. So do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store. Stock up for all your end of summer parties, back to school celebrations, or just watching the next Bears game against the Raiders. RC is the move for whatever you're doing.
And our friends at Sunnyside Dispensary are here to elevate your football season. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you're at in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They got you covered in the city, Wrigleyville, River North. Go out to the burbs. As far south as Champaign. Sorry about that Illini game against Indiana last week. You can go as far north as South Beloit too, right at the Wisconsin border. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff, or go online. You just have to visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day. That's sunnyside.shop every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. To get that, enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. And if you're already a returning customer, go ahead and use code CHGO50. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holder. All right, Johnsy, the K-ball thing. The K-ball. So the normal just offensive football you use in a game, each team has their own balls. They can practice with them. They can the balls you use in the game can be the balls that you use during the week. Take care of them. People might not even know this, but there's a process for breaking in a football. The whole dirtying process. There's conditioning. There's a lot that actually goes into it, and quarterbacks can be very particular about the footballs that they throw and how it feels in their hand and everything. That's why Deflategate was a thing. Whether or not those balls were illegal, there's a reason why these equipment staffs spend so much time getting these footballs ready for the quarterbacks, because it can actually have an impact on how a quarterback plays. It definitely matters. Well, the same thing is true for kickers, except for the fact that up until this season, at least in recent time, because Pat was obviously just telling us that there was a time where what did he say? Juice up the balls? What did he say? I forget what he said in that interview. So, but in recent history, up until this year, the kickers would have to use brand new footballs out of the box. Like literally, they would open up a box in the equipment room before the game and there would be a clock starting 45 minutes, and the equipment staff would have 45 minutes to break in these new footballs. Usually this is something that takes days for the quarterbacks when they do it properly. So 45 minutes to break in these footballs, which is not enough time to have it fully broken in at all. And after that 45 minutes, that's what you had to use as a kicker. And so they changed that this year. It was voted on in the offseason at the owners' meetings, and everybody, when compared to the tush push and all these other things that were going on, it got zero attention. But meanwhile, these kickers, they were giving it a lot of attention because they now can have the same process as the quarterbacks, use the same balls that they use in practice. And typically these kickers will fall in love with one ball because they're all labeled and they're like, this is my go-to ball. And I agree that if Pat McAfee's saying, what do you say, 10 to 15 yards, that seems a little extreme, but certainly 5 yards. I do think that's
still a lot.
Yeah, that's a ton. It's a ton.
These are the little things that I don't think a lot of people know that really matter to football players too. Like they obsess over these things. Like we should have Robbie on for a show to talk about. Like we could go on about conditioning footballs like for the entire 30 minutes that he's on, just because it's that important to certain players.
Yeah. Yeah. I went through this this is I have a list of a million different things that just from coaching that I never would have known about football. But this is one of those things because I last year I bought I think it was 4 footballs from straight from Wilson for our kickers for this exact purpose. It was like these same way the quarterbacks, even in high school, it's like these are the balls you don't touch. Nobody touches these. These are for the quarterbacks. This is the bag of the balls for the quarterbacks. So we did the same thing. Like this is our kicking bag. It says kicking bag on it. They're labeled K1, K2, K3, K4. The quarterbacks don't touch the kicking balls either. Right. And I had to go through the process of breaking these footballs in. And it was, I had never done that before. And it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't know the K-ball thing either until Cairo Santos came on Cole Kmet's show in the middle of the season and was talking about it. And it blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, you get 45 minutes? This took me a week to do. So at least
it's probably why you saw the kickers are out there a lot. And how many kicks do you think? That's another question. I maybe should ask Cairo Santos. Like they take about 5 kicks each direction, right?
Pre-game, you mean?
Pre-game.
Yeah.
I mean that helps condition balls a bit, I imagine, but fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean that genuinely.
No, I know you do.
These are the little things behind the scenes about football that I've come to appreciate, that I try to pick up, at least in my reporting and my storytelling.
Football it's just endless. It's just endless. The little details, the nuances. There's new things literally every week that you learn. It's one of the reasons why I love the game so much.
I've been on this podcast before saying how much I love just seeing different drills from different coaches. And this applies to special teams coaches as well, because there's different things you can pick up. You learn why they're doing it. You see why they're doing this specific thing in an individual drill and how it carries over into the real game action. Like you see it come to fruition so many times. So even with my own coaching, there's got to be at least 5 to 10 minutes. So when we go to individual periods, we're just not going over the X's and O's and what we're about to see, game planning and whatnot. I love taking 5 to 7 to 10 minutes, just going over the important fundamentals that you need every single play to be successful.
Yeah. And right now, I agree with what Pat was saying. I think especially on special teams, there's a little bit of that lacking right now for the Bears. He's just little small, and across the league with all the blocks we saw and have seen.
You know what's fascinating about that? The Bears have spent so much time on special teams, I feel like, too, under Ben Johnson. Am I wrong in thinking that?
No, it honestly feels like more than
Yes.
in the past.
Wasn't there a 20-minute period of special teams in training camp? I have never seen anything like that before. I'm not wrong in remembering that.
No, but I think that's why when people look at the roster and they're like, what does Travis Homer really do here? He's always hurt. It matters that he's out right now. it matters that Jalen Jones, when you looked at the injury report last week, myself included, how many of us mentioned Jalen Jones being out? Probably nobody. But that's a guy they brought back here because I know Richard Hightower likes him. And these are the guys you trust the same way that it's a big deal that TJ Edwards is out on defense because they trust him.
Yeah.
And
so they matter
these guys
when
are out. Yeah.
They matter when you see the coverage is lacking. They matter when you see a near block or you see them scheme your Luda kick because they need to do something differently because of what their personnel demands them to do. That's why Blake Costanzo is brought up by Kyle Long in like our last week's episode because these are guys that these are their jobs. They take them seriously. Like Blake Costanzo was a hell of a special teamer.
Yep. That's a good point. And then speaking of things you don't know the details, I had forgotten that when you line up out of a non-traditional punt formation, that they can line up over the center then.
The nuances.
So, yeah, those little things. And because that was an unscouted look. That's great coaching by Nick Sorensen, who's the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Or, I'm sorry, I said defense coordinator because he was the 49ers defensive coordinator last year. He's one of these rare guys that's gone from defense to special teams. He's the Cowboys special teams coordinator now. So it shows you a well-coached team that they knew on the fly with an unscouted look that's okay. They're going to line up this. I can go over the center, and Scott Daly almost gave that up because he got beat on that play. All right, that's enough special teams. Any final thoughts on or initial thoughts, I should say, on the Raiders before we get to our preview episode on Friday?
So this is in our insider analysis column. The Raiders ranked 24th in passing yards allowed per game, 237. 23rd in opposing QB rating, 101.2. And 24th in opposing QB completion percentage, 68.1. So just looking at the numbers based off 3 weeks, I get it, small sample size, but this should be like a good opponent for Caleb Williams, for Ben Johnson, for Roma Dunze, DJ Moore, all the above, for them to build on what they did against the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys are a bad defense. We know they are. The numbers say that they're like one of the worst in the league and could go down as one of the worst ever if this continues. But I think the Raiders are a good measuring stick for what's working and what isn't offensively right now for Ben Johnson.
Big difference will be Max Crosby's out there.
Yep.
So you got to have a solution for him. Got to have a way to. It's good that Braxton Jones looked better last week, but you're going to have to come up with ways to chip him.
And I had this in my takeaways column. For as good as Braxton Jones played against the Cowboys, you hear Ben Johnson talk about him like that spot is far from settled at left tackle right now. It's just I think Ben, when he was asked about Braxton Jones, is probably still thinking of what's to come, who is Max Crosby.
Yeah, you're referencing Monday's press conference where he was asked about Braxton, and I think everybody was kind of expecting an attaboy answer, and it was more of a, still got to be more consistent in the run game.
Yeah. Well, the numbers show that.
Yeah.
The numbers show that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be back Friday with a full episode previewing this game. Bears and Raiders. I don't know if it's a must-win game, but it's definitely a game you want to get.
It's like a should-do-well game.
Yeah. You don't want to go into the bye week 1-3. You want to be 2-2. Coming off, back-to-back wins. And so it's a big one. It's definitely a big one. The Bears are going to have that home field-ish advantage on the road. Should be a lot of fun. And we'll have it all previewed for you on Friday's episode. Thanks to Patrick Mannelly, as always, joining us here on Hoge Jahns. Make sure you check out that insider analysis column. If you're a diehard, you can sign up, allseatshow.com/diehard. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe as well. Rate and review the pod. Appreciate all the good feedback. And the Twitter account is back. So go follow it at Hoge Jahns on X, on Twitter. We're on Instagram too. So check us at the same handle there, Hoge Jahns on Instagram. Check it out. We'll talk to you on Friday.